And I would like to say good morning, afternoon, and evening to everyone here today, and thank you all for coming. Today I would like to talk about whispers and opportunities. Opportunities because there are always opportunities to be found, even in the darkest moment. And whispers because the whispers of the people who take advantage of these opportunities are what keep us going and inspire us to become more than what we are today. Today I would like to tell the story of a person who, through determination and hard work, cut through the silence which enveloped the world, and through doing so changed his destiny. I met him first when he was 19 years old. He conducted The Marriage of Figaro with only 2 rehearsals. He was 4 years old when he started jumping up on stages to sneak onto podiums and try his hand at conducting, and after that learned the piano, violin, and became a professional countertenor as well. The last time he conducted my orchestra was on March 15th of 2020, and he told me that week that he was going back to Spain to conduct an orchestra there. I told him there was no way he was going to be able to go because quarantine was going to start the next day. And he gave me that look. And you all know that look. It's the look of a person who's saying with his eyes, well, we'll see about that. 4 months later, he conducted the first live concert in Mexico after quarantine. 5 months later, 50 pounds lighter, and 35 hugely successful Facebook Lives later, he was on that first flight to Spain to conduct that orchestra that he had planned to conduct in March. He is now the principal conductor of the opera company in Mexico City. Ivan did this through sheer willpower, determination, self-education, practice, as well as a great lack of sleep. But he also did this with the help of several private and public institutions. I ask all of you today, how much would a business be worth today if that business had tied itself to Ivan at the start of his Facebook flight? We as musicians are the stuff that dreams are made of, but we could also be the stuff that companies are made of if investments were made wisely. And with that, I'd like to hand the meeting over to Eamon so he can tell us about our sponsors.
Thank you very much, Kathy. So this would normally fall on the role of Leon Tony Ware, who most of you would know here, but he's a little unwell, so he's unable to join us today. So I'm going to take the reins and talk a little bit about our sponsors, Ascentive and ECI. So I'm a member of Ascentive and ECI, which is a community, an international community of like-minded business people. And when I say like-minded, I'm specifically talking about authenticity. We're a community of authentic business people. We're not a referral group. We're not a marketing group. We are a community, a business, an international business of authentic business people, an international community of authentic business people. And our goal and intention is to support each other in our business, not to sell to each other, but rather to support each other on our journeys, help us reach our goals. And we're delighted to be supporting this event today for Kathy. And if anybody wants to reach out and find out more about ECI and the work that we do and the way we champion each other and support each other, there's going to be a link in the chat. I think it's on that link, Kathy, that you've already shared, is it?
Yes, I'm sharing it once again.
Yeah, so it's going to be in the link there. You can schedule a call with Lee to find out more about Ascentive and more about ECI and the journey so far, and what we have achieved together so far and what we plan to achieve going forward together as a community. So thanks very much, Kathy. Back over to you.
Thank you. The second patron for today is actually the pages that you see there. The company is called NowSite, and it is a fantastic way to organize your events and to put everything that you want to put on your events there. That page took me maybe about 10-15 minutes to make, and it is a fantastic way to promote yourself and whatever you would like to promote as well. And with that, I would like to open that page and start with something fun. Give me 1 second. Sharing now.
Here's our true mythful message repeated. While the screens we are all once more seated, opportunities once much depleted. It's time to combine day by day. We're rehearsing now with one another as economists slowly recover, hand in hand just like sister and brother. We need business support to our play. The value of what we can offer is quite priceless in many respects. Cost promotion and business acumen, our live music's future protects. It's creative input that we're needing for ensembles and singers succeeding. So dear business folk, hearken our pleading and combine to enrich what we say.
And thank you. Thank you so much, Charles and Colin, for that. Charles and Colin actually met on, I think, my first call, and they've done amazing, amazing things together since that time. I would like to hand the stage over to Charles and Colin, if you would like to take it from there. I don't know who would like to go first.
Well, I think Colin and I have discussed, so I'll kick off with just a very brief resume. Okay, so hi there, MIT followers. I'd like to briefly put in perspective the situation of the professional musicians that I work with and that I represent here. To become a professional musician requires as much original study as a lawyer or a doctor, to name just two other professions. The unpaid practice, rehearsal, and learning process goes on day to day, day by day, similar to other professionals. Unless a professional musician is part of a professional organization, such as an orchestra, they are not salaried. The average rate of pay for a self-employed professional player is roughly £350 per day. That's just, $350 per day. That's just $44 an hour. That's paid only the days that they are working. It's been the rate, and that way for many years. The question to ask ourselves and one another, therefore, is this: what can we, our companies, and our professional organizations do to help get work for professional musicians? Thank you.
Thank you so much. So on this page that you're seeing in the chat here has the list of the speakers, and Dan is up next.
Good morning, everybody. So, Kathy, that was quite an opening about opportunity and whispers. And as I've listened to the couple of events I've been to, I keep hearing the consensus thinking of how do we get more classical music into the world, as if there's not enough. So if we think there isn't enough, the universe will support us to make sure that's true. So I say, let's flip our thinking and reframe the game, that classical musicians are needed, just like the great philosophers are needed. So what inhibits maybe us actually exponentially growing our reach and becoming more relevant? Because those are really the two issues, right? We don't have enough reach, and we seem not to be as relevant as hip hop or instant gratification. So how many of you have ever heard of the thing called the Mozart effect? Anybody? All right, so we've got some folks in the house. So we would start to think differently. So one of the things the Catholic Church said, I only know this because I married an Italian and I took my kids to church, even though I'm Jewish. What the church basically said is, if you give me a kid up until the age of 6, I'll have them for life. So I think the Mozart effect is pretty much the same. So one of the things that happens in classical music is we keep going after the old people who already are with us. We're the kids. So how would we meet them? Well, where are they? They're in school. So how we're going to grow this repertoire is actually to meet them where they are. So by the age of 6, they have no idea who Beyonce is. They have no idea who Kim Kardashian is. And these really aren't the people that we want our kids to be anyway. So one of the things that I think is that rather than sell the product, classical music, what's the benefit of these kids? Why would parents want their kids listening to classical music? So the Mozart effect actually changes the brain. So for a parent who's got ADHD kids, for kids that are into instant gratification, for kids that are running around without purpose, the Mozart effect is a great help for parents and for kids, it actually changes their brain. So what we know is that if we listen to Mozart and we listen to classical music, it has a calming effect. It improves sleep. It can improve IQ by up to 10 points. It reduces stress. It improves memory. It lowers blood pressure. It gives us higher emotional intelligence. Any of those things anybody doesn't want, raise your hand, right? So instead of talking about how we might be obsolete, we flip the conversation to talk about why we're so relevant. Now, as we go to raise funds, right? And yes, there's different ways of doing it. There are lots of foundations. There's lots of different universities who give money for schools. Just take a look in the US. We can't, $300 billion in COVID aid for education so that we can be number 23 in the world. I guess if we did a billion, we'd get to 21. So $300 billion offers an enormous opportunity to speak with the government about how do we get 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, whatever the number is that we need. So I think that we have to start to think differently about how we bring this into currency. TikTok today is the currency of young people. Are there concerts on? I'm not on TikTok, so this is why I'm asking. But if we're going to meet them where they are, that's where they are, right? One of the things that kids really love are influencers. We need to be talking with the influencers in hip hop and jazz and other modalities to become our speakers, to become our enforcers, to become people who actually say, if you look at any of the current music, it's all built on classical music, right? 3 chords for rock. That's it. Where'd those come from? The Mozart effect. So I think there's a huge opportunity here for us to start to think differently. So if we're going to talk about schools and young people, when we look at what COVID has done to young people now, number of suicides, number of depression, number of moms and parents at home with kids, how could we literally change their lives with classical music? So for those of you that are professional musicians, do you have a channel on Spotify? If you have a channel on Spotify, drop off some flyers. I mean, in my area, I could go to 30 high schools or 30 grade schools in a couple of hours, right?
Exactly.
So I guess the whole idea here, oh, the other thing it does is it lowers cortisol levels. For those of you who don't understand cortisol, if you have a little extra around your stomach, that's cortisol. That's the stress hormone. And what we want to do is go from cortisol to dopamine. Classical music is what gets the brain chemical of dopamine going. Dopamine is what makes us feel happy. It's what calms us. It's what reduces our stress. So instead of the brochure of, here's my 4 musicians, I know you'll love to hear this, right? We have a whole different messaging that comes out. In our messaging, we should be showing musicians and kids, and we should be talking about outcomes. We should be talking about schools that have, because of budget, cut back 2 of the most important 3, art, music, and sport. Okay, now what are we doing with them? We're depleting them. We're not enhancing them, right? So there's clubs around, there's lots of places to go. So I just want to open up the thinking of possibility and thinking and reframing differently, that the world is an oyster and open to us, that the opportunities are there. All of this came to me actually in a whisper. I channel most of the time. And I was up at like, I don't know, 4 o'clock going, I'm supposed to be talking today. I haven't got a clue what I'm supposed to do. So if you could just let me know, that'd be good. And the next thing I know is here's my piece of paper with all the channels. I don't know if you can see it. There you go. Right. I think this is really this mindfulness, this calming effect. Maybe there are people out there like Eamon who are technically adept with software, and we create an application of calm and mindfulness with classical music. We create a channel, right? Clubhouse. There's lots of ways of getting this message out, but it's under the proviso of children, right? This is the future for us. So I think I beat the horse to death. Is there any more you need to know?
That was absolutely fantastic, and I wanted to say that it's very interesting because Mexico, it makes me realize how different Mexico is, because the people who go to concerts in Mexico are young people. The conductors are all really cute and really young. The orchestras are young, and the government pays for the orchestras, and the government sends us out to schools. So we play in public schools all the time. They send us off to little corners of the state. Everything you're saying is done here, and that's perhaps why it's easier for me to be doing this, because this is what I've been living with for the last 35 years, is this necessity of having culture for younger people. So thank you for saying that, because I didn't realize how missing it is in the United States. Thank you. That was a wonderful talk.
And one last thing is, if we're going to do a piece of classical music, why can't we intersperse it with some contemporary and talk about how Beyonce's song here actually has its roots in Bach over here. So it doesn't have to just be, pure. Again, what's relevant?
Yep.
Right.
That's also done here. The person who wrote the third, we call it the third national anthem, is still alive. And the person who wrote the second national anthem died about 10 years ago. So it's very, very relevant here. I'm actually going to put on the page 2 of my favorite recordings of those 2 pieces, so you get an idea of what really cool Mexican music is like. And thank you so much. That was wonderful. I'd like to send you all out into breakout rooms for about 5 minutes to discuss what Dan just talked about. So I'm sending you off now. 5 minutes. I know the other Dan Goldberg, would say this is way too short, but we're going to have another one later. So we'll see you back in a couple minutes.
Hello, the new.
Kathy, can I piggyback on your comment about Mexico? Relevant to Dan. In 1997, I had a guest conducting in Kiev, Ukraine, and I premiered Ralph Vaughan Williams's Hodie, which required, organ, full orchestra, full choir soloists, and a children's choir. Took me a month to teach the adults for performance. I didn't get in front of the children's choir till a week ahead. They learned it and were stunning. So they studied music along beside the sciences and the art. I mean, the sciences and math and all of that. So it was part of their culture as well.
I would like to piggyback also, and it makes me realize how important this is. The second and third national anthem of Mexico are with symphony
hi,
orchestra.
how are you?
The second and third national anthem of Mexico are with symphony orchestras. And so everyone wants to play trombone, everybody wants to play harp, everybody wants to play trumpet. So it's a different mindset, because the national anthems of other countries, you can do them without a symphony orchestra. In Mexico, it's impossible. And sometime during this meeting, I'm going to put 2 of my favorite recordings on the page so you guys can hear them. So let me just check who is up next. It is Susan. You there, Susan?
I'm here. Hello, everybody. I'm thrilled to be with this group. And like Dan, I was like, what the heck am I going to share? I too found the phrase whispers and opportunities to be so inspiring. And what it brings to mind based on what Dan talked about is, I grew up in North Iowa, a small town, and its claim to fame was that Meredith Willson grew up there. So the Music Man was very much based on our small town. There's a bridge across the river that is still called the Music Man Bridge. There's a piece of art in front of the bridge where you connect to cross this bridge that is made out of musical instruments. The town does a band festival every year, and everybody that I knew as a child wanted to be part of the band. Orchestra we didn't have as much of, but we did have marching bands, and Mom had me practicing to lead the band so that in junior high, I was the drum majorette for the band. It was through music that you really connected. The other thing was always the sports, be it basketball or football. But even the kids that played the sports would at halftime be marching in the band. You had kids doing all of the music, sports, and learning together. Now that my nephew is the high school band instructor and also the junior high band and choral instructor for a small community there in North Iowa, he's continuing to not only do it there, but he also plays drum at the church. This summer they did Godspell, a musical in a rock quarry, you know, out on this big plain of nothingness. They created a musical for the community to come around and then to be able to introduce it to families where even with things being socially distant or there not being an environment that was big enough to hold a major event that they could afford to do it in, they could do it outside someplace where they could find access, create music, and create engagement. What I love about that is it brings that humanity of music, and it starts those conversations about what do you like and why do you like it? What about it draws you in? And that's where I got engaged with Bank Code Personality years ago, because it talked about how we connect with each other at a humane level in relation to who they are and what intrigues them. Each of us is drawn to different aspects of the music. Some of us love the driving beat. Some of us love the melody. Some of us find that it's just how it brings in a feeling, or if you hear the organ in a church, it just lights up your soul. We have so many different ways that we in life connect music, that when we bring that connection of music to business, think of the number of events that only start with the pounding music to get the audience engaged. There are ways that we should be tying together those we know as musicians and business people into ways that we can support them in what they're doing and what it brings to make others think in a more free-flowing thought, to take them out of the day-to-day routine and drop them into that creative spot in the brain that allows them to find something in themselves and in the community and the lives around them that they weren't even looking for, but all of a sudden know they need and love. So I'm just going to let it go at that. This is a delightful group to be with, and I am always inspired by the conversations that come out of this. Thank you.
I'm muted. Thank you so much, Susan. That was fantastic. That was absolutely wonderful. We're going to have another breakout room, I think, in 2 more people. So keep in mind what she just said so we can talk about that in the next breakout room. And the next person up is Annalie. You there?
You're muted there, Annalie.
Thank you for having me there today, and I'm just so inspired by especially what Dan said, because it's very much in line with my background as a metaphysician. So what I will do is share with you some other aspects that are not often talked about when we talk about music. So I have prepared my presentation in writing, so I will read it off to make sure I use my time really well here. We all agree that music nourishes the soul. It is a conduit, a channel, and a transmitter of vibrations and frequencies to and from the world unseen, the spiritual world. At the same time, rhythm and sound are basic elements of a human physiology. We also know that music affects our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, our metabolism and cardiovascular function, which already we heard about earlier. Research confirms that there is music that helps with healing, such as Handel, Haydn, and Mozart, and several others, as we also heard earlier. However, like everything else in life, there is a polarity of positive and negative. Other music creates aggression, disruption, and confusion, such as satanic rock, or any music that has major discord. In those cases, we consciously can choose what we want to create or listen to. However, there is another aspect to be aware of. About 35 years ago, I was exposed to the creation of subliminal messages. I have been a member of the BC Association of Clinical Hypnosis since then. During that time, Dr. Lee Poulos, a Greek psychiatrist from Vancouver, BC, now Professor Emeritus at the University of British Columbia, created many musical tapes to assist his patients in building their self-confidence, improving their learning capacity, or create more love and abundance in their life, and many other good things. But like everything else, there are positive and negative manipulations. It is known that advertising involves subliminal messages. What is less known, though, is that the mainstream media today is filled with subliminal messaging, hypnotizing the listeners so that even otherwise highly educated individuals are no longer using their capacity for critical thinking and adopt beliefs that are harmful to them individually and to us collectively. In addition, a wide range of meditation and relaxation music, especially some of those who represent religious or spiritual fellowships, may have subliminal messages that may or may not serve the individuals listening to them. So, on a fine material level, multiple messages influence us. So what do? First of all, we need to be aware of these possibilities that are more prevalent today than ever before, and be mindful of before listening to music, especially when recorded from the source we are unsure about. Live concerts are the safest. With recordings of any kind, we need to be more discerning. If we are uncertain, I suggest the following affirmation before listening. My body, soul, and spirit are free of all vibrations and frequencies that reach me inappropriately. Every day, divine energies protect me anew. I will put this into the chat later on, just in case you would like to copy it and maybe use it sometime. Another way to do this or to protect yourself is to enroll in the Metaphysical Academy to learn more about these subtle phenomena among many other essential parts of our life. And of course, if you would like to explore that, please get in touch with me at Annelie at Metaphysical Academy. So thank you, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share these additional aspects which so easily, I believe, are overlooked. So thanks, Kathy, for having me here.
Thank you so much. And I made a timing mistake and Scott had to leave. He had to leave right on the hour. I'm very sorry about that because I was very looking forward to his speech. So what I would like to do is I would like to give you a little taste of Mexico in the meantime here. And I've made on the same page that you guys have been looking at, the page has just changed. And I will show you now what, you probably have never really heard this. This is what Mexican national anthem sounds like, second Mexican national anthem sounds like. And this is one of the orchestras in Mexico City. I'm sorry, give me 1 second. Let me get the sound better on the share. So we get this completely correct. There we go. Let me get sound up. There we go.
Kathy, we don't hear.
Well, it is softer at the beginning. That's a national anthem, and I would like to show you that this anthem is so famous. Here's Dudamel doing it in Veracruz. They've done it in Paris. They've done What an amazing country that can have that as their national anthem. And I wanted to tell you that I wanted to tell you that orchestra, every person that you see in that orchestra is now in exile, because that's an orchestra from Venezuela. And while the rest of us were suffering during quarantine, these people got together and they created their own orchestra. And I'll put the video here in the chat of the videos that they've been making. And I've been working with a woman in England to make a recording with a British choir with that orchestra to raise money for these people so that they can teach other refugees in the world about music. So that's a very, very important video for me. And I'm sorry, I got a little emotional there. But so Hugh, you wanted to say something?
Well, I know Carlos Prieto, who did that first clip, and actually got to prepare a concert with orchestra and choir for him to come in and direct. So he's a very accomplished conductor, and he's one of the conductors that's very personable.
Mhm.
And you know him, so it's a very different paradigm from the normal persona of a conductor. Very warm.
I have a story for you before I send us into breakout rooms. He came into rehearsal once and he was just all bent out of shape because someone had just stolen his car. They'd gotten him out of the car and they'd stolen his car. And so they took him out of the car, and Carlos Miguel Prieto is such a nice person that he said, okay, take the car. Can I keep my wedding ring? I just got married. And the thieves said, okay, you can keep the wedding ring. But the music, I just put all the bowings in the music. Can I just open the trunk and take out the music? And they said, okay, yeah, you can open up the trunk and take out the music. And then they stole the car. That's how nice he is. He won the thieves over to him. So with that, I would like to send you out into breakout rooms. Music is necessary, but it's also amazing and fun. And this is something that that Mexico is very good at. It's very good at bringing out the fun, the exciting part of this. So I will put you all into breakout rooms again. Let me. Yeah. I will see you back here in a couple of minutes. Let me just, oops, I did it wrong. I got everyone in one room, which will not help. Recreate, add rooms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See you guys back in 5 minutes.
Come in there, Kathy. We just finished in our breakout room with Sylvia. I'd just like to say to Sylvia, congratulations, you've just volunteered yourself for Team Ireland for the tour that myself, Kathy and Lee are planning. So well done. You've just volunteered yourself to join that team, because I think you have a lot of value with just the bit you just said there at the end. I think you've actually a lot to bring to the table for that particular project. Sorry. Back over to you, Kathy.
That's fantastic. That's wonderful. That should be one of the topics of, I think, like 2 months from now. That would be a fantastic topic about how to organize this change. That would be a great topic for 2 times from now. So the next person up is Dan Goodwin.
Hey, good morning from Kansas City in the heart of the good U.S. of. So my thoughts, number one, I'm never letting Dan Silverberg go ahead of me anymore, Kathy. He stole all my thunder, and Anna Lee stole some of it. So no, it's just that we're vibing because we are having the same thoughts, maybe different nuances. So I'll talk today about frequency management, because I wanted to tie this back to business and how can we incorporate this with business. How do we attract the right people to our message, and how do we use it in business? So I'm a classically trained pianist from the time I was in 3rd grade till around 18 years old. So I've played major works in recitals, and the foundation to go back to the message of how we incorporate this in schools. The foundation that classical music gave me as what my dad used to call an active child, which I was ADHD before it was cool or even diagnosable. It gave me a framework and a discipline, and gave me an appreciation for the pieces that actually came into my life that later I learned was music theory. And so when we talk about business systems and we talk about music, there are systems and processes that we like to go through that we need to do. We need to put in the work. So the good vibrations, I say, will attract your tribes and your nations. So if you're working to build a community, think about how you accomplish that, and then knowing that whatever message you're putting out will attract those people that resonate with your message. And I think that's a great talking point. Music creates a state change and an energy change, good or bad. Anna Lee was just talking about the subliminal messages. You know, I go to sleep every night with some sort of a dark screen, binaural beats. That is how I get into. I fall asleep very quickly, and I have that puppy on timer for 10 minutes, and it's rarely that I'm still awake when the 10 minutes expires. I'm out like a light bulb. So it leads to agreeableness. If you feel that you think about maybe one of the best dinner parties you've been to, maybe one of the best fundraisers you've been to, there is this underlying support of the ambiance and the situation that is uplifted by music. And, we're talking about classical music, but also think about other genres, how we create the atmosphere. If it's the rooftop bar on a Friday night, it's probably not classical. It may be upbeat jazz. It may be soft rock. I'm getting to that age where I do not like to compete with the sounds that I'm having to focus on the lips of the person I'm talking to. And if you're getting to my age of maturity, you know what I'm talking about on that. And then it enhances the sense of environment. And when I was I did not take my first music theory class till I was in college. So I didn't know about diatonic and pentatonic scales and the circle of fifths. I was a music reader. When I took music theory, it opened up my mind to the possibilities and actually let me start writing. And not that I'm a prolific writer of music, but it helped me gain a better understanding. It opened up my creativity. This application to business is when we get to that point, when we are crafting and we are massaging and we are making adjustments on our business plans, this is what's important. That creativity tool, that toolbox is opened up. And then I'll go back to a little bit of what was said earlier. The influence of classical music inside of all genres, jazz, rock, and I'm going to use heavy metal. One of my favorite rock albums of all times was Metallica, S&M. And guys, that's not what you think it is. That was with the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra. And you know what? Now they've got S&M too. They just released another album in 2019. I absolutely love it. I use music every day in my business. If you've ever been on a Zoom call with me, you know that when you enter my room, there is music playing on the background because it is an immediate state change. It lifts, and sometimes it's rock, sometimes it's classical, sometimes it's something in between. It can be jazz. And the last thing I want to say is it tells our story. It helps us to communicate. It creates earworms. It creates, think of commercials that have taken old songs, classical and otherwise, and old songs, and really reintroduced them to the mainstream. I would hope that we as business owners, when we are creating the culture of our business, when we're going to be more attractive and bring people in to hear the message of the superpowers that we have and how we want to impact the world, I trust that music is a part of that strategy for you and your business. That's what I have to share today, Kathy. Thanks for letting me share.
That was awesome, Dan. Thank you so much. That was really amazing. So next up we have Hugh.
Well, howdy. Glad to be with you. I'm going to talk about the tactical aspects of what we're doing. How do we take the skills and the disciplines we have and integrate them into a business profile? I've had many opportunities in life. One of them to be in front of auspicious groups. So I had twice, I did a leadership training for the American Choral Directors Association. So I had 100 conductors in the room. Now, that's enough ego to declare statehood. So what I taught them is, how do you take what you already know and integrate it into what you're doing? Most conductors have 3 jobs. So we work for a university, we work for a religious organization, we have a community group, we have a professional group, whatever. Most conductors have 3 jobs, I should say, 3. So we do more than one thing. So all of these people complained about the system they were in. So I said, why don't you utilize what you already know? So today I'm going to talk about meetings. Raise your hand if you've ever attended a boring, unproductive meeting. Raise your hand. Okay, raise your hand if you've ever conducted a boring, unproductive meeting. Raise your hand if you think those are stupid questions. So I live to eliminate boring, unproductive meetings. So as a certified meeting facilitator, I learned it's very much like conducting. And so we get rid of some of the myths. The number one myth I'm gonna tell you about is we need an agenda for a meeting. The agenda is the enemy of productivity. Teachers don't use agenda. We use a lesson plan and we teach to learning objectives. Conductors don't use an agenda. We're going to play this piece a while. Agenda has come morphed into activity. If we think about outcomes, and in meetings, we think about deliverables. What are we going to walk away having accomplished? So I'm going to teach you some tactical things. I'm also going to give you my book. It's an ebook on Hugh's 10 tips for conducting power-packed meetings. If we have a bad rehearsal, we're likely to have a mediocre at best concert. But leaders in non-musical situations have a bad meeting and they think things are going to be fine. We're building the DNA of the ensemble. Everything we do builds high performance, or we learn the wrong notes. We don't learn the music. We learn the notes, not the music. So there's some synergies. Now, the conductor is perceived by many as a dictator. Well, you know, you're in front of a whole bunch, you got a union orchestra. I hired the Atlanta Symphony Players when I was in Atlanta. You got 2 hours. If you're not done, they're leaving, or you're going into overtime. So it's up to us to be able to get it done. But it also, we don't bully people. You don't tell the oboe player how to play the oboe. You encourage people, you influence people. So because you got a stick doesn't mean you can get anything done. So here's your high performance team. This is me. And then this is in Lynchburg, Virginia, 2 years ago, 2019, major event. First time that symphony ever filled a hall, first time they ever made money. So I was a leader of the organization as the president of the symphony, also was the conductor for that concert. So we had a lot of steps to go. What you don't see behind me was a riser that came up and a children's choir came on. Then they went away and a black gospel choir came up. So we had multiple genres representing the culture of where we live. And guess what? The people on stage and the people in the audience represented the culture, blue collar workers, every race, every generation, because we programmed for that and we encourage people. So it's our job to take what we know. Now, here's the other baloney that's out there is that all musicians are creative and we have no structure. Wait a minute, you've got this thing called music. It's like computer programming. It's a very rigid structure. You break the rules, you're not going to play with this group again. You have to be creative without violating the structure. So I'm going to give you the tips, and I'm going to load in here on the chat. I'm going to give you a link. You can download my ebook, which got all the details. This is an hour program, but I'm going to tempt you to learn how to take what you know and to morph it into productivity. We are influencers of the high order, and we use what we already know to influence people. So if you have a board, you have a committee, you have a business, your team is like an orchestra. So, you know, I'm a conductor. Everything I see is like the orchestra. So the orchestra is a high performing orchestra because we influence it. I did a full production of Godspell with 6th grade kids. And people said, well, that's really hard. How did you get them to do it? I said, number one, I never told them it was hard. Number two, I took the bricks off their head. I said, let's do this. It's like the old Mickey Rooney movie back in the way long ago. Hey, kids, let's make a movie. Woo, we do it. So we penalize by having bad systems. So we want effective systems. That looks like most meetings. We're looking at each other. We're talking. We got computers. You want to plan for outcomes. What do you want to walk away having accomplished? You know what I did with the Lynchburg Symphony when I first started? I did a full strategic planning session, which normally takes 8 hours. They finished in 5.5 because they were so focused on the outcomes. Sorry. So we want to do board meetings and we get in the weeds. No, here's the rehearsal plan. We're going to work between meetings. We're going to approve things. We're going to plan the next meeting. So first thing you want to do is teach your teams to work between meetings. When you come together at meetings, it's reporting about what you've done. You know, you come to rehearsal, you know your notes, then you start polishing. Then between then and the next rehearsal, you work on those parts you need. We need to train our people to do the same thing. So we need to get out of their way. We are the problem. We are the problem. So we got really good people. Let's inspire the best thinking. Think about results, facilitate creative conversations, debate ideas. It's okay to debate ideas. We debate and attack ideas, not people. Respect who we are. So here's my 10 tips. Number one, purpose. If you don't have a purpose for a meeting, do not have a meeting. I talked about agenda. Well, an agenda item is you're going to send out what you're going to accomplish. An agenda, that word has gotten distorted and the practice around it has gotten distorted and minimized. An agenda item would be like, we're going to talk about marketing. A deliverable is we're going to define the top 5 strategies to fill the halls. See the difference? We come in saying we're going to do this. People are ready. They're thinking about it. They're going to be purpose driven. Plan the meeting. Planning a meeting is like a conductor plans a rehearsal. It's 2 to 3 hours for every hour of rehearsal. 2, 3 to 1. People say, I don't have that time. Okay, you got time to pay all these people, to have all these volunteers come together, waste their time? No, plan your results, plan how you're going to get to the results. It's at least 2 to 1. Here's the secret. Don't plan 100% of the time, only plan 66%, 2/3. It's going to take longer. So if you got a 90-minute meeting, plan 60 minutes of activity because it will take longer. If it doesn't, you're out early. I was at a meeting yesterday, got out early. So nobody in 32 years of me doing this, nobody ever got angry because we adjourned a meeting early. Plan it, lead the meeting. You're in charge, lead it. If people want to get off track, you're going to define the deliverables. This is what we're doing. You're also going to define off limits. We're not going to do the details. We're going to do the 5 strategies. We'll do the details between now and the next meeting. Keep people focused. This is your rehearsal. Keep people in the notes. Begin on time, end on time. You got a union, boom, start on time, you're going to end on time. Respect people's time. Participate. Make sure everybody plays. Think of the triangle player. They're back there counting 137 bars of rest, and they played exactly the right time. There are people on your team that are processing things. They will play at the right time. Sometimes they need a cue from you. Everybody knows how it should go. The team should define the guidelines. And if you say, what are our guidelines for power-packed meetings? They'll say things like, well, we should be on time. Here's a trick. If you want people to be there on time, create a specific time. People will say, oh, we're going to have a meeting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, that's a general time for a lot of people. If you say, we're going to start this meeting at 2:01, that's a specific time. People will show up just to dare you. Are you going to start on time? It's going to be 2:01 to 3:27. You plan what's going to happen. You start and end on time. It empowers people. Nobody, even on payroll, nobody wants to waste their time. Record. If you're brainstorming, you record the ideas. I use storyboards. People write on paper, we put it up. Record exactly as people state the words. Then you can take those and morph them. Record it. People will stay focused if they see the notes right in front of them. Review what you're going to do. Here's what we're going to accomplish at the beginning. Review what you did at the end. That's accountability. You stay in control. If somebody says, what about this? What about that? Well, it's your meeting. It's your rehearsal. You got to learn this music. Say, okay, we'll do that later. We'll write it up here in this parking lot. We'll deal with it later. So you've honored their request, but you did not let them get you off track. And then you've been to a meeting and people have all kind of great ideas. Well, if you don't assign those ideas to somebody, the assumption is you're going to do it. So great creative meetings go nowhere without an action plan. What's the action item to do? Starts with to create, to implement, to complete. It has a champion. Who will do it? Third one, when will they do it? So that's key to this. So there's a lot more to this, but I want to stop here if I can figure out how to stop share. So use what you already know. Think about your planning or rehearsal. Think about the results you want. You got the baton. You're leading. Keep your name off of those to-dos. You've got a team of people. Don't rob somebody of the opportunity to do something. If nobody speaks up, silence is powerful. So I will remind you, use 4 principles of leading. Foundations. You know where you're going, you state it very clearly, and you have the skill. Leaders get things done, they figure out how, and they influence people. So if you're point on, here's where we're going. 2, surround yourself with the best people. You don't want a poor oboe playing your orchestra. It makes the whole orchestra sound less. Systems. Make sure you've got effective systems. It's rehearse. Every musical group in the world rehearses for concerts because it's that ensemble thing. Very few leaders rehearse systems. So take what we know, incorporate it in your non-musical. This is a business principle that we already have mastered. And then balance. Rest in the music. Value the rest. Just think of the grand pause in the Beethoven Missa Solemnis. And then this violin comes out of heaven with this overtone. Eerie, quiet piece after a lot of noise. It's the powerful punctuation. We need that kind of punctuation in our keynotes, in our meetings, in our lives. It gives you time to reflect. So my message today is you've already got the goods. How do you reposition those in a tactical way to get things done, building an enterprise, a for-profit, a nonprofit, a community organization? You got the goods. So reframe what you already know and put it to work. That's it, Kathy.
You guys already got the goods. And you already have the means to make a lot of money off of what we do. And so what I would like to do now is take us all out into breakout rooms and say, and have you think about, how can I take advantage of what these people are offering? Okay, so that's the topic for the breakout rooms right now. Let me get them up here. Sorry.
I'm gonna put into the chat the
That was fantastic.
the download from the book. The Power Pack Meetings, there's a lot more to it. So there's the book that you can download.
So Kathy, first of all, I've never had a boring conversation with Hugh Ballou. Second of all, Hugh, I want to give you one idea. So what happens is you send the agenda out to people. And who do you send it to? You send it to people that are doing fire drills all day long, that are overworked, overwhelmed. They get the piece of paper and they go, okay, I got the agenda. It's 2 days from now. I show up and I either forgot to bring the agenda or I brought it and I haven't prepared at all. So if you want to have a really constructive meeting, put whatever it is you want in a memo, whether it's a paragraph, a page, 10 pages. Before you start the meeting, you spend the first 20 minutes, because I'm assuming everybody can read in 20 minutes, the document. Now they've got the state change and actually are thinking about what it is they're supposed to do. And next, I only want to hear at best 3 ideas from you. I don't want you to spew all your vomit. I only want 3. They need to be brilliant, and it's how the brain works. If you only have 2 good ones, then only bring 2. Yeah. And now you've really focused. So I'm assuming in music as a conductor, when you show up, this is not the first time you've looked at that music. You've studied that music, so you know where you want expressions of higher and lower and different speed, and most of your workers don't understand that type of discipline. So we talked about discipline.
Well, actually, Dan, that's how we upgrade the culture. So it's what I call a new architecture of engagement. So what we in the work of Murray Bowen, a psychiatrist, in his 8 concepts of leadership principles, is not therapy, it's theory. You know, how do we, and that's some of the most important. So number 1, leaders overfunction. So we don't coddle the musicians, they come ready. So our principle is, here's what you do to prepare. They know the meeting is 48 hours before you send them. Here's the deliverables. We're starting at 2:01. Here's the documents that we're going to move on. So board meetings, people have to prepare. And so once they come and they're not prepared, they're not going to do that again. So we start right in to, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're not going to do. Here's the first module. So when you start a rehearsal, there's no touchy feely. Now choirs are different. You just have all this emotional, but orchestras, what do you want me to do? They mark it. Okay, let's play. So it's a discipline that is the leader's duty and delight. As a conductor, we build the discipline by expecting people to raise the bar on their own performance. And so when you send out the meeting notice, you always ask a question they have to answer. So you know who's responded and who hadn't. And when people aren't prepared, they look really bad, and we don't make them look bad. They do that themselves. So there's a whole methodology here, which is very similar to rehearsals. And if we expect, like I did the production of Godspell 6th graders, they raise the bar on themselves. What I did is provide the opportunity. So Kathy, sorry, we took your meeting away from you.
No, that's absolutely fantastic. And I'm gonna take the meeting away from me also for 2 seconds here and tell you guys a story. So I would call it like the center of Mexico. Most of the presidents have come from here. It's basically the most important city. It's an invisible city because it is so important. And so there's this old hacienda. And the old hacienda has been the place where all of the parties of the most important people in the country have been for the last 50 years. And so this old hacienda, it's never had to do any kind of publicity. So 2 years ago, I went and I played there, but she never would have paid attention to me, right? She really never would have paid attention to me. So about 5 months ago, she said, Kathy, it's all yours. The building's all yours. I have no work. Just take it, do whatever you want. So I started doing concerts there. I did 3 concerts in a month. I got probably out of those 3 concerts, not from the people who came to the concerts, but because of the publicity I did for the concerts, I got 1 tour and about $2,000 worth of gigs. She got about $12,000 and was booked solid for the entire month, because who's going to buy from a poor salon that has no money? And the image that she gave was one of opulence and saying, I survived COVID. You guys want him to come hear a concert? So the way that you market classical music and the way that you use classical music is something that's not taken advantage of, and is something that can be used to an extreme advantage. She went from nothing to being booked solid for an entire month. She had every single graduation in the entire city. They did at her place. Okay, so with that, I would like you to think about everything that amazing that you've heard about classical music right now. How can you use it as a business? And how can you go to somebody and say, I have a really good idea. Do you want to use classical music in this way? It's my idea. The musicians, we just come, and you look amazing because you've done this. She is now the most important building in Toluca because of 3 small classical music concerts, and she did that. It was her idea. Okay, so with that, Leah, would you like to take the stage? Leah, you there?
Was mute. Hi.
There you go.
Good afternoon, good noon, good morning, good day, everybody. I'm Lali Tani from Israel. Actually, I loved all what you said, and I got enthusiastic about the agenda for the meeting because I think it rescheduled the world. And Dan, I loved your 3 points idea, but still music, for me at least, is more. Music is actually the food of life. It's always associated, yes, with proper appearances, actual or virtual, and goes together with people, your likes, not just people. Music gives essence to your lifestyle. These are the people that you want to be associated with. It's not by mistake. Music, especially classical music, makes us enjoy, relax, open, and sharpen our senses. And it enables us to trigger us and to be at our best. And this is what we would like to do with us, to act, to initiate, to dare and to try, and to share. To share with whom? With the likes of us. Music has no barriers of any way. Music connects us. Music is inspiration. Music is love. Music provides us with all kinds of food, physical food, spiritual food, any kind of food with each effort. And above all, music is for sharing. Music is eternal invitation. So it's up to us to invite. And as a businesswoman, because I'm a business consultant, an image consultant and studies for success with more than 30 years experience in global and business and banking business, I'd like to tell you, yes, music is everything. You can conduct people. You can train people. You can lead people. You can make people be your partners, be your customers. You just have to plan it and to share it with them, because the music or the concert, and not only the classical concert, the jazz concert, any kind of music based upon rules, but you can go anywhere. This is the beauty of it. It's not limited, and it's upon us, upon you, upon each of us. Either you are the entrepreneur, the business person, or the one, like Kathy says, that may suggest, may give a good tip to someone to help you with. So good music asks for good performance and appearance. Like you said, you should plan it, you should participate, and you create your own environment, because this is what music about. Yes, you look at your best. It's very good. The question is, how does it look to the others? Classical music has advantage. It has rules. dress code, stage code, and so on. For the beginning, it's very good. It's up to us to think, who are your clients? Where would we like to take them? Which atmosphere would they like to have? And it's in our own hands to create it. You look business-like, then you wear a suit, then your client will be those who either wear a suit or those who want to wear a suit. Those who want to belong to your customer cycle, to your life cycle. Of course, good music and good people big flavor and color to life. Who wouldn't like to have flavor and color to his life? Please hold your hands. Anybody would like it. Great. Anybody would like it. So just join with people, share it with people. Yes, you must be professional. Yes, you must have agenda. Yes, you can create it. If you need any help, I'm here for you as other image consultant, because this is what you create. You create your world. You think about it, you hear, it's music. It's in all senses. You hear, you see, you taste, you look, you color, you do it together. You may dance like I do, and people love it. Just aim at the right people. Aim to them the right things for you, and you will succeed. And of course, when you share, the people are your natural partner. You don't have to sell them. They will want to be your partner. They will want to be like you. So just join them, welcome them, and let's celebrate together in music, which is also the ultimate way to promote business. Yes, suggest it, dare it, let's have it. Let's communicate, let's connect for our business sake and for our friends and for the sake of musicians, for the sake of the benefit of the universe. It's in our hands. It's so simple. Let's recreate, reorganize our thoughts, and then we can recreate our wealth together, and let's create a very much better world for us. Thank you.
That was wonderful, Leah. Thank you so much. That was fantastic. Eamon, you're up. Close us out.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Yeah, it's my honor to be last actually on the speaker's rota today, because I've had the advantage of listening and hearing everybody else, and I mean the wisdom and the information has been very, very rich throughout the meeting. So it's I'm really glad actually that I'm last on the lineup today. I want to start kind of where we started, which was Dan, and Dan challenged something in his piece. He challenged the concept or the idea or the notion that there was a scarcity or a lack of classical music in the world, that there wasn't enough classical music in the world. And I'm going to challenge it as well in maybe a slightly different way. Bear in mind, any classical music that exists is in the world, right? So any classical music that is in existence is in the world. And I mean, how old is classical music? It's a few hundred years old, right? So if we don't have enough classical music if there isn't enough classical music in the world after a few hundred years, we have a bigger problem, right? So I'm going to challenge that notion in a similar way to Dan. And another notion that kind of came up in a breakout room, we need to make classical music more entertaining. And we teased this out in the breakout room and we got it down to truth, but I'm going to challenge that notion as well, that we need to make classical music more entertaining, because bear in mind, all music that has come since has its roots in classical music. All modern music is based, all modern Western music at least, is based and has its roots in classical music, right? So everything in the world of music that we find entertaining has its roots in classical music. And again, after a few hundred years of classical music, if it isn't entertaining by now, we have a bigger problem, okay? So those are the two notions that I'd like to challenge that I heard today, that I heard come up today. So I hope I haven't offended anybody doing that. That wasn't my intention. It was to create value. But what I want to bring it back to is what I think I was originally asked to come on this panel to talk about, which was to, bring classical music into the world of business. And myself and Kathy had a conversation just as the call started about marketing, and we may focus the next event around marketing. And that kind of reminded me of, I used to have, for those of you who don't know me, I used to have an event management company quite a few years ago. And we had a very, very, very basic, simple, you could teach it to a 2-year-old marketing strategy, sales and marketing strategy, which was, who are they, where are they, and how can we get in front of them? That was it. And when we ran that strategy, when we were brought in to do the sales and marketing on an event, when we ran that strategy, we never failed to sell out the event, right? So who do we want to get? And this, Dan has already touched on this as well. Who do we want to get in front of, right? He was talking about it with the kids in the TikTok, right? So who do we want to get in front of? Where are they? And how can we get in front of them? So when I think about that in terms of business, and we spoke about last month, we spoke about the value that it can create for business and everything else, but who are the business owners? Let's get clear on this. Who are the businesses? Who are the business owners that we want to get in front of? Okay. Where are they hanging out and how can we get in front of them? So okay, the who, we could talk about that all day, but where do business owners hang out? Where can you find a lot of business owners in one place? Can I get a show of hands here? Who here on this call is a business owner? Hey, we just found a load of them, right? So it's meetings like this. Those of you who know Lee that runs the Brexit Opportunity meetings, it's meetings like that. It's organizations like BNI, C-Suite, CBN, all of these business networks, your local chamber of commerce, right? This is where we can find loads of these business owners, right, that we want. And how can we get in front of them? Guess what? They're looking to talk to you as well. If they're in any of these organizations, if they're running events like this, they're looking to talk to us, right? So all we got to do is ring them up, find the networks, find the groups, find the communities, ring them up and go, hey, can I come to your meeting? And they'll go, yeah, absolutely. We'd love you to come to our meeting. And Kathy and I are already talking about doing things in Ireland. And we've had conversations with, I've started conversations with one of the executive directors in Ireland of BNI about doing a tour linked in with the BNI business community that will be supported by, funded by, and utilized, and this is the important bit, utilized by the business community. And you're talking about hundreds of businesses that we just straight away will have access to, right? And what we're planning to do is we're planning to bring all these businesses into a room, and we're planning to ask them, the guys that are involved in the organization, who are your clients? And who are the companies you would like to be doing business with that you're not currently doing business with? Would it be nice for you to reward your top clients by inviting them to this event? And can we invite the companies that you want to be your clients to this event? And imagine this, there's a classical concert, chamber music or whatever it is taking place in a hotel somewhere. All these companies come along, they sit down for food, they have a meal together, they share food, they have that experience of sharing food. Bear in mind, no matter what species you are, you do not share food or you do not eat unless you feel safe. And safety is very important. That notion of safety and security is very important in doing business. So if you're sitting down sharing food with these people, you're in a safe environment. And then you move into this concert and you enjoy this really rich, authentic, genuine, passionate music, okay? Well, let me ask you, where is the stage? Is the stage where the musicians, from the business point of view, because I'm talking about this from the perspective of how music can benefit businesses, is the stage where we see the musicians, or is the stage everywhere around the musicians where we have this magical experience happening between business owners? So after hearing everybody and absorbing everything from today, that's my 10 cents. I hope it was of some value, and thank you very much for the time, Kathy, and the opportunity to speak. So back over to you, my friend.
It was absolutely fantastic. I would like to thank all of you for coming today, and I would like to finish today's discussion returning to Ivan Lopez, our conductor from the beginning of today's talk. Ivan has 19,000 fans on Facebook and 5,000 fans on Instagram. He beats me on Instagram, but I beat him on Facebook. And how many fans does an average size company have on Facebook and Instagram? And how could their companies grow if they had more? I would like to end today's meeting with the following comment. The world is still mostly silent, and it is those musicians and business people that can fill that silence, which would be heard the most. Next month, first Saturday of next month, we will be discussing what marketing opportunities can be found in classical music. And I thank you all so much for being here today.